Hello and welcome to my channel, Haylee Marie Vintage. This week I am bringing you a week in the life of a part-time YouTuber, sort of full-time worker person, full-time corporate, whatever. I just thought it would be good to show you guys kind of like what it's like to manage both a YouTube channel and a life outside of YouTube, because YouTube does not pay my bills and I don't want to work as hard as I need to work for it to pay my bills. So yeah, I'm going to be taking you through the week with me. I'm starting on Sunday and I'm going to probably actually end next Sunday. I've been waiting for a few different things to film this. I've wanted to film one of these for a while, but one of the things I was waiting for is a 3-day weekend, because I do more interesting things on a 3-day weekend. I have more energy, I have less fatigue. That one day off work really makes a difference in my life, so it's a little bit more of an interesting vlog for you all. It's not just me laying in bed every day after work. That's more realistic. And also I have a fairly busy social week ahead of me as well, and I'm feeling really creatively inspired right now. This is like kind of a perfect trifecta. This is not how my life is all the time. This is probably gonna be the busiest week of my month. Most of the time I'm not nearly this social or this active, but like I said, I wanted to give you guys kind of a little bit more interesting of a vlog. But yeah, keep that in mind, that this is not my week, that every week. This is a really busy week for me. But that said, it is a Sunday. I decided to film this midway through the day and then I got distracted. So we are in the evening, actually. So what I've done today is I have been working on a bunch of white shirts. I'm making like a white shirt batch because I don't have to change thread color for that. So I have 4 white shirts that I'm currently working on kind of simultaneously. And then after that, I headed to my friend's a cappella concert. It was a delight. So after this, I went and I grabbed ice cream with a friend at this cute little matcha place that is in Georgetown. She was having a great time filming me. I wanted to like first start by talking about like showing up. It's not that I didn't want to show up to this a cappella concert. It's that I wanted to stay in my house all weekend and work on these shirts and like just really fixate on that. But one of my challenges to myself this year has really been about showing up for people who are important in my life. It's really easy for me to not show up for people, for lack of a better term. Like, it's something that I've just been working on myself for a long time. I put off deciding if I was gonna show up or not till this morning when I bought the tickets to the concert. There's a lot of reasons. I get really anxious when I go to, it was in a spot in Seattle I've only been to one other time, which means I was anxious about like getting there and finding parking and driving, and then a room full of people that I didn't know. Like, there's a lot of different anxieties around that. And anxiety shows up for me a lot when it comes to these social things, and it's a lot of the reason why I don't do social things, but I try to, when I can and when it makes sense for my health, push through that anxiety to show up, because I was so glad I went. I was laughing at myself. I think I cried twice because watching them sing and be so happy just filled me with so much joy, and I would not have had that much joy today if I had stayed at home and sewn my shirts. I feel like every time I am nervous and anxious about going out socially, I remind myself how good I feel when I do go out socially, and that hopefully helps me get over some of the anxiety. I also planned my map this morning, and I'm mentioning all this because you guys have asked for like tools that I use as a neurodivergent, socially anxious person to go out. I woke up this morning and the first thing I did is I looked at the route on the map, because we're in summer season in Seattle, there's a lot of closures, all that good stuff. So I did that this morning to get an idea of how much time it would take for me to get there. That's the first thing I did, and then I sewed all morning, which sewing helps soothe me and chill me out. And then the other thing that I found is I found a treat. The biggest key for me if I'm going somewhere is to find a treat that I can get as a reward to myself for going out. It's so silly, but it works. In this case, it was a matcha shop. I went to it before and after the concert. So those are like a few of the tools as I plan and I find a little treat. And I really try to remind myself how much I actually enjoy these things once I showed up. I had so much fun watching this concert. I was so glad I went. None of the anxiety I had before was founded, and the like biggest and most powerful tool I've found for defeating my social anxiety is just doing the thing and doing it and practicing it, which is like not a fun answer. And like, to be clear, I could have never actually gotten where I am today without being on medication. I'm not on medication right now, but I was on a medication for a few years so I could build the habits I needed to actually manage my anxiety better. The biggest thing I've learned with my anxiety is if I let it win, it's easier for it to win again and again and again. So the days that I can wake up and I can fight it, I do. Of course, there's days where because of my body or because of other things going on, I can't. beat it, and that's totally okay, and I give myself grace those days. But on the days that I think I can beat it, I make myself, because it loses, and it's easier to fight it the more you do the thing that makes you anxious, which is not, it's not the fun answer, but it is the answer I've at least found for myself working in therapy, and again with like medication and stuff. But yeah, I wanted to be open and honest with y'all about like my anxiety journey and what it looks like for me to go out. Now we're gonna hop into my evening routine. It is Sunday night, so I'm getting ready to head into work tomorrow, and I have some other stuff going on, so I will be doing some filming. You'll get to see, I don't know, this will be a really vulnerable vlog for me because this is going to be a little bit less filtered than I think I normally give you guys. I don't filter much. As of right now, it feels like a good week to do this. In the last, I check in 3 days and I'm in like a several day migraine. Oh, also I wanted to kind of check in on like, how's my health today, right? Because I'm someone who lives with chronic pain. I have had headaches all day today, but nothing like migraine level that I haven't been able to like focus through, and I've been able to keep moving with. Pain-wise, I'm probably a 3 to 4, maybe even a 5 through points of the day. I'm having just a lot of tension and stuff in my shoulder, upper back, neck stuff right now. I also wanted to give you guys like a realistic idea of this, and just because I'm pushing through certain levels of pain doesn't mean you. I know my limits. I know where I have to stop. If you are someone who also struggles with chronic illness, like don't see me thinking, oh, she's at a 5 and she's out and about doing that stuff. Everybody's stuff is so different. I don't want you to actually like actively compare. This is me telling you that the way that even though we maybe both struggle with similar chronic issues, it doesn't mean that we're able to do the same things. Like on a 5, I can only go out on a 5 pain day today because it's summer and it's warm out and I want to be out. During winter, I would have barely left my bed probably today. But yes, now we're actually going to dive into my evening routine with that final thought. After filming the intro and some other thoughts of this vlog, I then settled in to do some cleanup. I had been crafting all weekend and I needed to get my place ready. One of my friends, I pay them to come over and clean for me because they can really serve my needs as a disabled person, and I am able to help them have some money to spend on fun things. So here I have Love Island on because that is the season right now, and I'm just putting things away. I'm sorting my scraps. Big scraps I save, and then smaller scraps I put in my Ridwell, where they're sent to the shredder where they'll become insulation. So that is what happens with all my scraps. I am a bit of a scrap hoarder, and these are specifically textured white fabrics. So also there were some really big scraps, and I'm saving those because there are quite a few vintage things that I'll make that need kind of like a white fabric contrast, and these will all be really gorgeous pieces of fabric for that. That's what I'm doing here. I'm trying to start to get my house in order. And then I'm also picking up my sewing area. I throw a lot of my scraps willy-nilly on the floor like a wild person. I need to get out of the habit of doing this because it creates so much more cleanup later, but in the moment I just don't want to deal with things. So here I'm just getting my tools all reorganized on the ironing board, all my pattern pieces, all that good stuff, putting everything away, again getting everything ready for my house to be cleaned tomorrow. After all that cleaning, I'm finally hungry enough, so I have like this like potato chickpea thing that I tried as a recipe this week. It was not my fave. I don't know if I'll make it again. And then I try to eat fruit with dinner because I'm really bad about eating fruit. But fruit actually helps me get through my sensory sensitivities with food. Sometimes if I'm starting to have a sensory thing with a food, if I eat a couple things of fruit, it'll kind of reset things and then I can go back. And then after that, I have a half hour left to sew, which is pretty exciting because I didn't think I was going to get to finish this last blouse tonight. And I feel really great going into my week, having 3 out of the 4 white blouses that I was making done. Of course, Spooky has to join me right here, right now. I'm still watching Love Island 2, by the way. After wrapping up my project and the TV watching, I settle into my nightly routine is I try to clean / just generally be off screens and do general other things, even if it's not cleaning, for an hour before I go to bed. So here I am doing all of the dishes that have kind of piled up throughout the day. In general, I can be a pretty messy person, and so one of the things I do to keep my place clean is, again, this like kind of 1 hour cleaning routine each night. But also, if I am not having the energy to do anything, my one rule is the sink has to be cleared of dishes, because otherwise once those start stacking up, my mental health deteriorates. So if I can just clear the dishes, we're in good shape. Today I had a lot of dishes because I did a little bit of cooking earlier in the day, so it's a little kooky and crazy in here. I'm not usually doing this many dishes, and I had a couple dishes left from yesterday that I had set in weird parts of my house. This is like kind of one of my core things that help with my executive dysfunction, is if I at least make sure all my dishes are clean and my kitchen is like eatable or like food preparable, I feel pretty good about that, and so I try to make sure I complete that every time before I go to bed. Because I cleaned for like an hour before dinner, I decided that I didn't need to clean for the whole hour, so I decided to do 20 minutes of PT exercises. This routine here is actually my favorite of the exercises. I get the most relief in my neck and shoulders, and right now I really need that relief in my neck and shoulders. That is what I'm doing here. I do also do an additional 6 to 8 other exercises besides this cycle to, again, release that tension. And Spooky, as always, gets involved in the PT. And that's all I'm filming for tonight. After this, I get up, I brush my teeth, I wash my face, and I get in bed and I read for usually another hour. And that is how I get a better bedtime routine. And this is what works for me. Routine is super, super important to me as an autistic person. Without it, I am lost. So, and there's no way I'm like a functioning person. So you'll see this routine again and again in this video. And it is the morning, and first thing that I'm doing is I am giving Spooky a pill. I do not usually give her her pill in my bed because she does eat them rather sloppily. So this is not usually what I do, but I know the sheets are getting changed today, so I let her eat the pill in the bed and enjoy her loaf time afterwards. From here, I get ready for work. I have some meetings that I need to be in office for. This is an outfit that you would see me wearing to work. That's really normal for me to wear to work. I'm getting all the tangles out of my hair. My hair tangles really easily because even though I have a lot of hair, it's very fine hair, and it just gets very tangled and snarly, and I actually have to get my hair thinned on the underside part of my hair. Otherwise, it becomes a really unmanageable mess. But yeah, I'm gonna put up in a little bun and stick one of my flower accessories in it. And then I have pre-meal prepped my lunch, so I am packing my lunch for the first couple days of the week. And I really didn't sleep well last night, so I actually was up super early, which I know that doesn't make sense, but the worse I sleep, the earlier my body wakes me up and I can't fall back asleep. So I was up at like 4:30 this morning. So I was ready really early, and we're in kind of those really bright full light days. So I spent the time before catching my bus playing with Spooky, making sure she gets some energy out and some good chill cat time, you know? All right, we're going no mic for this because I don't feel like putting on a mic because I'm already having a day and it is only 1 p.m. on Monday. So everything that's going on, little Spunk over here, where'd she go? Yes.
You're so cute.
She is not feeling well. I didn't sleep well all last night because I could tell she wasn't feeling well. I got up and I went to work because I knew my friend would be over here to keep an eye on Spooky. Got in touch with the vet, and the vet thinks that she's nauseous from the antibiotics that she's on right now. So I'm just gonna sit down. Oh, hi, Spooky. Well, she's energetic, that's for sure. Come here. She's a little sicko right now. I'm not super pleased about it, and I'm feeling pretty stressed about it. And like I said, I called the emergency vet last night, and they said due to the antibiotics that she's on, they think she's fine and she's probably just a little bit nauseous from them. So I sent an email to her vet this morning. Her vet responded. They want me to come in and pick medication. So I came home a bit early so I could make sure to get her medication. And then I jinxed myself real hard. I do indeed have doctor's appointments this week. I got a reminder that on Wednesday I have a PT appointment, which is fine, no big deal. But I got a call back, which if I'm leaving this in, it means it ended up everything's benign, everything's fine, and I'm okay. I'm gonna completely edit this out if that's not the case. So you know how it ends and you don't have to wait till Thursday to feel anxious for me. But I have some lumps in my breast, and I have 3 lumps in one, and I had those ultrasounded a few years ago, but we found a new one at my checkup that I had last week. So we're gonna go get that ultrasounded, look at the others that are there or have been there for a long time. And that's just always like really stressful. They're able to get me in Thursday. I'm really happy they're able to get me in so fast. It sounds like someone canceled. So that way I don't have to like kind of wait in this what is it state. I will say like I feel pretty anxious about it, even though chances are it's like it was before and they're just cysts. And I'm just like leaving all of this in because this is just like kind of how my life is. Like I'll be like, this week is gonna be amazing, and then it kind of feels like a bunch of stuff is not amazing, huh, Boo Bear? It's not amazing. But we gotta make sure you feel good. I love you. It's already kind of feeling like a week and it's not even that late. So yeah, I'm gonna go pick up some medication for Spooky. Her vet is in the same area as a couple different treat places that I enjoy for myself. I'm gonna give myself a treat for dealing with a day that I'm feeling stressed about. And I'm gonna pick up her medication and then I'll come back home and finish my day at work from home. I got a lot of spreadsheeting to do. Lucky me. So yeah, that's kind of the plan right now. And then hopefully this evening I feel a little bit less anxious. That is the plan. You a sweet bean who's not eating, and it stresses me out. Okay. After running to get Spooky some medication, I am back at the house and I have wrapped up my work day finally. Very happy. Today just felt super long. Actually, work was great and not stressful at all today, but the stress of everything else was just kind of getting to me. One of the things I like to do when I'm stressed, and this is something I do once a week anyway, but it really helps me to put my hair in rollers. It's very grounding for me because I'm dividing things like mathematically, and I'm kind of like touching and feeling and being more present in the moment. So that's what I'm doing here. I am also watching a video. I believe I'm watching one of Stephanie Canada's videos here. But yeah, so that is what I'm doing here. I have a whole video on my curler routine if you're curious. Other thing I would note here is I'm really lucky, and while today has been a pretty high stress, high anxiety day, in fact one of my highest anxiety days in a long time, it has actually been pretty low pain wise. Today I sat at like a 2, even a 1 some parts of the day, which is phenomenal for me. So even though certain parts of the day were hard, being in less pain always makes that easier. And once my hair is done, I am now working on some meal prepping. Meal prepping is super key for me because I hate cooking and I hate figuring out what to eat. I really wish I just didn't have to eat, but I found it is really, really important to make sure I'm fueling my body and my mind and getting enough food and a well-balanced diet and all of that good stuff. So I am meal prepping. I cook basically 2 to 4 times a week depending on the recipes that I'm making, how often I'm going out, all of that good stuff. Here I am doing my dinner for the week meal prep. So what I'm doing here is I'm doing a 2-sheet meal. It's technically a 1-sheet meal, but I doubled the recipe to make sure I was getting enough food. So this is a potato, sausage, bell pepper, and broccoli meal. One of the things is I always forget I don't like getting my potatoes at Trader Joe's because a lot of them are not good. I had to throw out 3 potatoes, which I wasn't thrilled about, but I've learned it's not worth it to risk it for texture for me because if I get the ick from this meal, I'm kind of screwed. I'm just chopping, and this is also great because this is a really low effort meal. While it technically takes 30 minutes to bake, it takes very little time to prep because I just have to like half the potatoes and then put in the oil. The recipe calls for no spices, which is wild, so I put in some paprika and oregano. Nothing's too wild because I can tell I'm going to be really stressed this week. I'm trying to just not put in another sensory input, so I'm trying to have my taste be pretty mild here. So some oregano and paprika will hopefully at least give it some flavor. And then I am also cutting up some bell peppers, and then the last thing that I will use is I will use some pre-chopped broccoli. One of the other things I find really helps me is buying pre-chopped food. I often hear people talk about how like pre-chopped food is super wasteful, or like people who use it are super lazy, but as a disabled person, there's only so much I can do. And anywhere I can cut corners and save those spoons to use to work, do things that I really enjoy and not cook, I will take, especially because I am lucky enough financially that I can pay for the pre-chopped stuff. But that's just something to keep in mind. I hear a lot of different disability tools or systems and things called lazy, and a lot of people actually need these systems. And also, like, if you don't want to chop your own broccoli, there's no judgment on me. Like, even if you're fully able but you just don't feel like it, that's good. I don't know why people feel the need to call other people lazy for that. But yeah, this is my meal prep. This will give me 6 dinners, which is exciting. This is the most aesthetic it's getting because this is the only time I'll actually plate it. All the rest I'll eat straight out of Tupperware. And then again, I have my bowl of fruit as my sensory break, and Spooky's over here being a loaf. And while I was eating, of course, Spooky is the cutest. She went to be Sun Cat, and she is adorable, and I love her. And even though she stresses me out, I enjoy her presence so much. And after the day I've had, I feel pretty fatigued. So I was planning on sewing, but I'm trying to be better about listening to my body, so I decided not to sew. But today for my reality TV time, again, Love Island, because it's on every night but Wednesday, and then the Saturday show isn't even worth watching. I actually just like laid down and watched the reality TV and pet Spooky and just kind of chilled for about an hour. And then after giving myself some time to like decompress and just really zone in and tune into reality TV, forget my problems for a little bit, I then felt good enough that I actually am editing this video and doing this voiceover right now. I'm gonna do the same routine that I did yesterday. I'm going to do all of my dishes. Because my friend came over and cleaned today, I am going to instead focus hopefully on some other cleaning chores and clearing up some executive functional stuff there. And then I will brush my teeth, do some PT exercises, crawl into bed, read a book, and hopefully fall asleep fairly easy. And I actually realized I sold something on, I think, Mercari for the first time in like months. So I actually had to pack a box real quick for that. So that's what I'm doing here. I do this usually as part of my cleaning routine. That is all I'm doing tonight. I am now gonna head to bed, and I will see you guys in the morning. So I have a lot to do this morning before work, so it is an early morning for me getting up, but I continue to not sleep well, so I'm already up anyway. It doesn't really matter. First thing before I can do anything else in my day, I need to take out my rollers. I also find this to be a fun process, although I will say my hair snags and it can be a little bit frustrating, but it is a good process for me mentally. And the reason I get up so early is I have a full workout that I want to do this morning. This is where I'm going to disclaim, if you make any rude comments about how I work out, my body, anything like that, you will be blocked. Even if you think you're just being positive and giving me feedback. This is really vulnerable and hard for me to put on camera, is me working out. I work out at home primarily because I don't like the scrutiny that I feel like I get in a gym. I mean, I also don't like men approaching me at the gym, and that happens if I go to a gym, but like working out is just really, really vulnerable for me. So please, if you have any critical comments, keep it to yourself. But I am going to talk about my workout routine because it is really, really vital to my life. So I've been working on changing my mindset around working out. Working out has never been something I enjoy doing. I don't really like working out, and all the ways that I like to work out aren't actually really accessible for a day-to-day basis. So what I found works for me is dumbbells and videos at home. I'll link who I use. I use Sydney Cummings Houndy Shell's videos, but I use her videos from like way back in the pandemic. I tried some of her new stuff and it's just too cardio intensive and too joint intensive for me, but her old stuff is a lot more weightlifting based, which is what I personally need. I also need the cardio, but I have to work really hard to stabilize all of my joints during cardio. For a long time, working out was definitely punishment for what I was eating. And I think that's a really common attitude in America. I think you hear people so casually say, oh, I worked out today so I can have this donut or whatever. And I feel like that was my mindset for a long time, and it really did not help me continue to work out or feel good about working out because it was punishment for my body. So recently I've shifted my mindset around working out. Working out for me is not about staying thin or being able to eat a donut or anything like that. Working out for me is about my future. It's really important to keep your muscle mass up as you get older. It will be really, really critical in your senior years and having a more mobile, active life. I know that's something I've seen really clearly in my life. Between the adults in my life, I know who have been active. I guess seniors now in my life, I know who have been active versus those who haven't. Of course, there's outlying things like health stuff. Like, of course, I know that I have a joint condition, right? If you don't use it, you will lose it. People say that about a lot of things. It's true about muscles. So yeah, I've tried to reframe this as this is something that's going to let me have the life I want in the future. And that's really helped me get up and work out when I work out 4 times a week. And it's helped me be able to achieve that shift in mindset from punishing myself to instead making my future brighter and better has really helped. It's also helped, I mean, transparently, my pain has gotten down significantly since starting to work out. And working out has been one of the reasons I was able to get off of my anti-anxiety medication. So working out is really good for me in a lot of ways. I couldn't get there until I had a mindset shift. And now I won't ever say I love working out, but I know the benefits and I don't feel negative about working out anymore. This is my little routine. You'll see it a few more times, and I'll talk about a few more aspects about me moving my body in the future times you see me do this. I'll grab the playlist of hers I used down below from all those years ago in case you're curious. Like I said, I've seen a lot of success from them, although it has been kind of some trial and stuff like that. And here is my look for work today. I have kind of my hair up in this curly ponytail. This is how I like to wear my hair with first day curls because I just think it's whimsical and funny. I don't think it looks particularly good, but it makes me feel silly and I like that. And after putting in my time at the office, I am now walking over to where I am meeting my friend for ice cream / it was supposed to be for dinner, but I got ice cream and then forgot to get dinner. One of the other things I'm practicing in like mindset shifting, which mindset shifting is a huge like thing that I've learned in therapy. I've learned that you can not control a lot of things in your life, but you can have, once you have your mood stabilized and you are generally a stable person, you have some mindset control. This does not apply if you are having chemical imbalances. Like I could not change my mindset when I was super depressed and anxious, but now that I am more stable, it is an actually effective coping mechanism for me. So one of my big mindset shifts that I've been trying is looking at Seattle like I am a tourist. I travel to all these cities all over the US and all over the world, and I just love being there. I don't feel like I have that same love and appreciation for the very amazing city I myself live in. So I've been practicing looking through my city through tourist eyes, and wow, Seattle is beautiful. I really enjoyed my walk over to South Lake Union. It's really easy to enjoy that walk when it is so beautiful out, but yeah, I've been really practicing appreciating my city through the eyes of a tourist. And it always makes me feel better. And this is the sundae I got today. This is like their matcha something sundae. It's delicious. 10 out of 10 recommend. I love it. Alrighty. Spookies decided to be loud. It is what it is. I am finally home. It is like 9. That was not the plan today. I met up with a friend at 5. We realized we hadn't actually seen each other for 5 years. The last time we saw each other was pre-pandemic due to like a bunch of different reasons. She moved out of the city when the pandemic started because work went remote. So yeah, time has flown, so we had a lot to catch up on. So we were there like 4 hours. I should eat dinner, but we have now gotten to the point that it is a little bit too late in the day for me and I will get a tummy ache and be unable to sleep. Thank you, body. It is not best practice, but I am gonna skip dinner. I'm trying to get Spooky to eat a pill right now. That's why I keep looking this way. She's right now on an additional anti-nausea pill on top of her antibiotics. So we're having a time. Today at work, honestly, was kind of horrible. The AC was broken and we're in the middle of kind of a heat wave here. Heat makes me kind of irritated, especially this week. This week I'm just really irritable right now because there's a lot going on between Spooky's health and my health and work. We're kind of at like a very key point in a project right now that's really, really stressful. I'm annoyed and I'm cranky and I had to really like stand my ground on not doing certain things at work right now because it doesn't make sense. And this probably won't shock you all, but I don't deal with nonsense. Like if it doesn't make sense, I'm not doing it. That's my general rule. I had a terrible day at work. That's not the point though. The point is I again really like trusted and rooted down in community. After I was really irritated, I ate lunch with a coworker and we talked through some of it, and then I was still really irritated in the afternoon, so I pulled another coworker that I'm friends with for coffee and we talked about it, and she's been going through some stuff too, so that was really good and I felt like a lot more grounded. And then I went and I met out with my friend and I also felt really grounded by doing that. I talk a lot about grounding through community, and this is sort of what I mean is like I left work today feeling really, really crappy and terrible, but now that I'm home, I'm feeling just like really grateful and joyous, and like I enjoyed my time so much with my friend and I enjoyed catching up and hearing what she's been up to these past 5 years and talking about what I've been up to. Just reconnecting with someone who I find really enjoyable and really special. It's stuff like that that makes life joyous and fun and worth it for me, and being able to connect honestly with kind of a few people today and really ground myself through everything going on with me right now was really, really productive. And yes, it does mean I got home at 9, which is late for me. I go to bed usually at 9, like I'm in bed. My plan is to basically say goodbye to y'all. I'm not even gonna do my full cleaning routine. I'm only going to get my dishes washed and get my dishwasher running and then go to bed from there after I do like my skincare and teeth brushing and all that stuff. I'm also gonna skip my PT routine, which is not the most advisable, especially after how tense I've been all day, but I'm pretty exhausted. I feel really tired and I've been off in my sleep schedule lately, and it's really important when that happens for me to go back to a really, really consistent and strict sleep schedule. Definitely not an ideal day, arguably not even a good day, but I'm back in good spirits despite all that, and despite the fact that politically today has been a mess, like news-wise. So by all that, I'm still, I rooted down through the people I love and the people I care about and the people I see making a difference in the people in their lives and in the world. And because of that, I am feeling really grounded and really good, and yes, very tired and ready to go to bed. So I will catch you tomorrow morning. We are the next morning, of course, and I am again waking up early and getting my workout in. However, today I work at home, so I can get up a little bit less early because I don't have to put in time for the commute before I get into my job. I can basically roll out of bed, work out, get ready, and then sit down on the couch and work, so I don't have to get up quite as early. Not that you would know by some of the yawns I am exuding this morning. Today, the aspect of working out I want to talk about is progress. So working out has been really, really hard for me. It has taken me almost a full year before I really have seen very much progress in my strength. I just wanted to encourage, if you feel like you're not seeing like quote unquote results from working out, yeah, it took me almost a full year to feel results. Because again, for me, the goal about working out isn't what I look like, although I would love some toned arms. My goal is to feel better, and it took me almost a full year of working out before I started to really feel better. And now I do definitely feel better when I work out. Honestly, yesterday was pretty low pain day, sitting at about 2. Today is a similarly low pain day, so that's really exciting. Working out is like not linear, especially with what I have, because I can't do exercises till failure because that puts too much stress on my joints. So progress is really slow. It takes me a really long time to get to up my weights. I have to do, like when I started, I had to do most things without weight, even though they were weight moves, just to start getting my muscles correct in how they are actually moving, because what is most important in exercise is not how much I lift, it's how you lift it. And if your form is correct, you're going to see a lot better results if you do that, and you aren't going to injure yourself, because transparently recently. Last year, I kind of jumped into exercise, and as much as I enjoy the trainer that I mentioned, I don't recommend her for beginners. I think that's actually how I injured myself, is I was not activating my back muscles correctly, and that is kind of what began the spiral that I've been in the last 18 months. And I do like her videos now because I've worked through so many moves with my PT, learning exactly how to engage everything, but I don't recommend her for beginners. I actually made things worse for myself before I was able to make things better. But it's really hard if you weren't athletic as a kid, or if you didn't, I don't know, I had no access essentially to learning how to properly exercise my body. I very rarely regret not being athletic as a kid and not going through athlete stuff, but it would have been nice if I had ever gotten formal training on how to use a gym and how to do exercises and all of that, especially because with my flexibility in my joints and my hypermobility, I'm more prone to injury than others. You'll see me in these videos, I'm doing a lot of modified moves. I modify things all the time if I know something's kind of more complicated or is going to be more likely that I can't focus and I will put my body at risk. I will do a much simpler exercise. There is nothing wrong with doing lower modifications for your body. In fact, you should, because again, it's part of taking care of your body, and exercising isn't about punishing your body, it's about taking care of your body, and as a result, your body deserves those modifications. Like for cardio work, I often can't do jumping. Sometimes I can, it really depends on the day, but I have to be really careful with my cardio to not pull a muscle or a joint out of alignment, so I have to do everything on the floor. It doesn't feel great to feel like you have to do all of these modifications, and it doesn't make me feel like I'm the strongest person out there. But again, my goal isn't to be the strongest person out there, and when I have those kind of bad thoughts about myself because I have to take a modification, I remind myself that I got up, I'm doing the work, and I'm feeling better. And that's what exercising is about. It's not about anything else for me. And today I think is another weights day. I will say she does a great mix of dumbbells and non-dumbbell workouts. I prefer dumbbell workout because slower and more intentional weightlifting really helps with my pain and also helps me focus on engaging my muscles correctly. And honestly, it's taken me 4 years to make my build my dumbbell collection. So this hasn't been an all-in-one time thing. Also, it took me 18 months before I could even go up in any of my dumbbells anyway. Yeah, just treat your body kindly. Exercising should be all about that. And this is not an advertisement, but I just wanted to talk about something that's helped me a lot. I now drink 1 protein drink a day because as somebody who doesn't have the best executive function, and I can just have a hard time getting enough protein into my diet, especially because so much of my pain is triggered by muscle spasms, which is really hard on your muscles. And I have found having this additional protein drink in my routine has actually reduced my pain significantly, because I think my muscles have enough protein to recover from the spasms that cause a lot of my pain. So if you haven't considered a protein powder, I would highly recommend talking to your doctor first. And this is not medical advice, but I would recommend checking it out. I have noticed a night and day difference since I've been using a protein powder, and I've advocated for a lot of my friends to start using protein powders, and they've also seen differences. So just something to consider. I always thought of it as being gym bro-y and gross, but once I opened my mind and started using it, it's been a really, really good tool for me on, again, getting that protein I need to help my muscles recover. I am back from PT. I worked a bunch this morning. PT is basically my lunch break, and so I'm gonna eat this. I pick up soup from my favorite place every time I am on my way back from PT because I drive by it, and it's so tasty. It's 19 Golds, and it's their dumpling soup that I love, and I get their extra rich and creamy broth. It's very tasty. I didn't feel like prepping food for myself today. My meal break is definitely a little bit shorter. Basically, PT always goes well. I love my PT. I'm feeling really good in my neck and shoulders after, which is great, especially since I did an upper body workout this morning. So basically the rest of today, I am going to get back to work for a while, and then once I wrap up work, I am probably going to start sewing a garment before I head out to pottery night with some of my friends. That's the plan as of right now, and I don't think it'll change. Fingers crossed. But I'm so glad I have a job flexible enough that I can go out and do PT as part of my lunch, because I don't know what I would do without being able to do that. I have made it through my workday, and luckily this one was pretty low stress. I don't have a ton of meetings this day. I have a day a week that I try to block my calendar of meetings, because my job focuses a lot of heads down, really, really focused time of moving pixels and doing work and stuff. And so I try to give myself, and my boss luckily supports that, for me to actually have a day to focus. And I actually usually feel better coming off work, which is what I'm doing here. So here I am off work, and I have about 45 minutes to sew before I need to work on stuff to be able to head to Pottery with Friends. So I am going to go ahead and sew for that 45-minute period. Sewing just really helps me like regulate my nervous system. With me getting my ultrasound tomorrow, I am feeling a little anxious, so hopefully this will help me work out a little bit of energy. And then I ate dinner, which was exactly what you saw me prep yesterday. And the last thing that I'm going to be doing is I am doing all of my like hours worth of cleaning before I head out to Pottery with my friends. When I go to Pottery with my friends, I know I'm going to be home late and want to just go straight to bed. So I try to get all the chores that I want to get done before I go, which does mean that honestly, like in net free time I have on Wednesday after work, it's like an hour and a half. It mostly gets consumed by cleaning, but that's okay because I know I will then get and hang out with my friends. And as always, Pottery was great. I really deeply appreciate my friends. I actually stayed a little bit longer because someone just needed support and I wanted to be there for them. So I was home really late this night and I don't think I got in till like 10. And then I also actually got permission from my boss to work from home an extra day tomorrow. Usually I would try to make it into the office, but with Spooky's health and me having that scan, I was feeling really anxious about it and I had a good conversation with her and I'm able to work from home tomorrow. So I'm also feeling really good going into tomorrow. Last thing that I'm going to note before we're going to head into tomorrow is this outfit that you're seeing. This is a pretty typical work from home day outfit or weekend outfit, especially if I'm not filming. I feel like you guys think I'm really glamorous, but there is a lot of times that I'm wearing a t-shirt and shorts or like pants like this. Like I definitely am not cute all the time and there is no pressure to be cute all the time. This is how I look a lot of the time. But with that, yeah, I'm going to head to Pottery and I'll be home late and then we will talk again tomorrow morning. Another early morning for me, although at this point I get up most mornings pretty early because of exercising and then to keep my schedule consistent. So today is a break day from working out. So I actually went out and found a place to take some photos and I met this cute little kitty and I got some great photos of this top. So that was all accomplished. I did actually wake up to go to the grocery store. I just went and I got footage afterwards. I get up early to go to the grocery store because I can't do the grocery store with everybody there, and when it's really busy, it's a sensory nightmare for me, both sound-wise and visuals and everything. So I get up, I go when they open, and usually I am in and out in like 15 minutes for each store. I usually stop at 2 to 3, depending on what I'm cooking for the week. Usually I don't buy flowers at the grocery store, but they had these really gorgeous asters, which are one of my favorites. And I hadn't seen them at the farmer's market yet this summer, so I did pick up some flowers. And then, and I got fruits and all of that good stuff. If I wait till after work or I grocery shop on the weekends, I absolutely cannot focus or like it takes all of my spoons for the day. So this is a method that I've found very successfully makes it so I don't feel super overwhelmed. And then once I get everything put away, I will head on to work for the morning. And for breakfast, this is what I eat every day. This is just the first time and last time I'll show you. I use the Trader Joe's like ancient grains or whatever as a base, and then I make my own dried fruit blend, and then I'll just put in some boiling water and eat the oatmeal. That's what I eat every single morning because it really helps me to just have one very low taste, low effort thing at the beginning of the day. Alrighty, I am back from my ultrasound. Everything's clear, everything's benign. It's the same thing it was last time I had to go in for these. They just all changed positions, which I guess they're like some sort of like fibrous cyst thing that like pops up in a gland and it can go away. So it's not super shocking after a few years that they've all kind of like moved, but I'm really glad to have that over with so I get to enjoy my 3-day weekend. The main reason I'm like talking about this on screen, I would usually honestly probably keep this private. Make sure you're just doing a self-check. I caught my first one of these 3 years ago when I was doing a self-check. It's really important to catch it early. I am at the point where I'm getting them often enough, and sometimes they're getting large enough I could potentially think about surgery, but right now that is not an option I really want to explore. All I care about is they are benign and I can go about living my life. I will say if you're in the Seattle area and you ever find lumps and you need to go in for an ultrasound, I really preferred Fred Hutch. I went to Swedish the first time and it was just like a really not great experience. It was really like dark in the hospital and you had to like kind of move around while in your gown, like move rooms and stuff. And at Fred Hutch, I just got to go in a room and be in a room. So I do highly recommend them. And I also thought their radiologists were a lot more personable. I did have a lot of men in a room looking at my boobs, which was not my fave because it is resident season. So they have the residents running in like pairs. I don't know. I just felt like a lot of men in a room looking at my boobs. That's okay because like I will say I thought their bedside manner was really good. Again, in general, I felt like this was a lot more like dignified experience than my experience at Swedish. Not that there was anything like super wrong with my experience at Swedish. This was just much better and the system was a lot easier to navigate and I just felt a lot more taken care of than I did at Swedish when I did it. And also the building is just gorgeous and the campus is gorgeous. That's my 2 cents. Hopefully you never actually have to go do this, but yes, if you do, I highly recommend them. We stopped by Tacos Chuuki's after going to Fred Hutch. My friend took me and I'm really thankful again to have a community I can lean into when stuff like this happens. Not having to drive myself took so much anxiety for this off my plate. So yeah, I'm now gonna eat my lunch real quick and then I'm gonna work for another couple hours. I have been given permission to cut out a little bit early today. So they said we can leave at like 2:30 if that's, well, leave. By leave, I mean get offline because I'm clearly not at work. I have a couple things that I'm gonna wrap up in the last like 2.5 hours that I will need to do at work. Gosh, yeah, it's so nice going into the weekend knowing that I don't have cancer. What was a very stressful week has kind of eased. It's also because I'm not working for the next 3 days and that always helps because work has been so stressful. It's nice to have some health stuff out of the way, to have Spooky's feeling better. She's back to eating 100%. And then to have gotten in so quickly to get this looked at and confirm that everything's benign. I have some like pretty high intensity like research type of stuff to do for work today. And that's the type of work I really, really adore doing. So I am actually excited to dive into that because I actually worked a little bit longer yesterday than I usually do because of what I'm doing. I find very fun and interesting. I also love that when I have really highly engaging work. So good week, good way to go out on the weekend. And now that work is all wrapped up and I am off to my weekend. So exciting. I love 3-day weekends. I am going to first just get these flowers all arranged and prep. I wanted to get this done so I could have them in the intro background of the video that I'm filming. I'll film an intro after this. I love arranging flowers. I find this also really grounding and peaceful for me. I don't usually do it standing, so this was kind of a little bit unique, but I did enjoy it. I was feeling good enough to stand today. I feel like a lot of times I do it sitting because it can be kind of exhausting to stand. After kind of having a lot of intense heads down work for the day, I wanted to stand and really just have a different position for my body. So yes, that is what we're doing here. And I have finished up my intro and it's time for me to cut my fabric, which means I have to remove Spooky from her paper pile. Spooky loves the paper pile. It makes it very hard for me to throw away what is actual garbage because she loves to roll in it and sleep in it and just enjoy her life in it. But now I'm getting everything set up to cut out my fabric for the project that I am filming today / this weekend. Very excited about this one. I can tell it's going to be a good one. And you will see it upcoming, I believe, next week. After that, I decided to chop up some of the fruit that I got, and to my surprise, I bought a yellow watermelon. I didn't know they made these. My autism did not like this. It looked like squash and tasted like watermelon, and my brain did not like. I did end up eating all of the watermelon and just kind of pushing through, but it did not make the sensory break that fruit is supposed to be for me. So in the future, I will be careful to not select a yellow watermelon again. I also felt like it tasted underripe. So yeah, this was not it for me. After everything, I was feeling good energy-wise, so I went out to film actually another white blouse. These are all the white blouses that I made. You're gonna see me talk more about them in depth in another video, but I am filming all of the like reveals or like showing off footage on this day because I'm feeling pretty good and the weather's right and the sunshine's right and all that stuff. So everything aligned and I made sure I was taking full advantage. And right now our sunsets are setting at 9 p.m. so that means I can't start filming things like that till 8:30. So I'm gonna actually run a little bit later tonight, which is fine because I don't have work in the next morning. I am going to be today probably just 30 minutes of cleaning, but again, just getting my home a little bit reset and reorganized. But with that, we're all done with the day and I'll see you in the morning. And we are back this morning with another workout. This time Spooky's getting involved. It's funny because Spooky's actually usually very active in my workout, and by active I mean annoying and in the way. But it does sometimes, like when I'm doing planks and stuff, give me something to snuggle, or during breaks I get to, you know, get that quick serotonin rush from petting my cat. Today, kind of my theme around working out is even though I don't feel like it showing up, because right now I'm just feeling sad and it makes me just not feel very motivated to work out. And so today I reminded myself that I will feel better mentally if I work out. Working out has allowed me, like I said, to get off of medication, and in general I feel like it really does help me either, like, I don't know if relieve stress is the right word, but it definitely helps me emotionally regulate and helps me stay a little bit more steady and stable. And I've always found that to be true. The best points in my life mental health wise have always been when I've been more active, and that is a good reason to exercise. It doesn't make it easy, and today I definitely didn't want to show up, but I did show up, and wow, I felt so much better afterwards. But now that that's out of the way, I get to focus on sewing, which is another one of my favorite parts of the day, and again, very mood stabilizing for me. So here I am just sewing away on my little project. I can't wait to show you guys this one. Like I said, you're gonna get it next week. You won't have to wait too long, but it's a good one. And I am actually doing meal prep today as well. We're doing some shrimp tacos. I have a pretty easy recipe here. It doesn't take much cooking. I will link it down below. Great recipe, and yeah, also good for me to just kind of do something different than sew, because I would just sit there and sew all day if I could. And that's not always the best choice for my body. All right. I have finished making my meal, which is right here, some lovely shrimp tacos. I'll drop the recipe down below. It's one of my all-time favorites. It's pretty easy to make and it's delicious. And there's like a lot of ways you can do this where it's pretty minimal chopping. Wow, I'm very drink surrounded, which is classic. Yeah, so today I have off from work, obviously, since I have not been working. It is the 4th of July, and it is right after the terrible bill passed last night. So I have a lot of feelings. I've cried a couple times today. I'm really worried about a lot of my friends who I know rely on these services. I'm worried about like the lack of social safety net. That's going to continue to get worse in America. We already have such a bad social safety net. And then certain parts of the bill were specifically designated to target Washington. Washington actually has a lot of additional aid available for people. It's just really sad, and I'm really angry. I don't know, definitely not patriotic today. I don't know I've ever been patriotic though. I believe so much, like what I always say is I do actually love my country, which sounds wild in this. What makes me so mad is we're the richest country in the world, and our citizens live such poor quality lives for all the wealth, because all of the wealth stays at the top. Like, I think there's so many really great things. Like, what makes me love my country is I love all the different cultures you get to experience in America, because we are such a melting pot. And I love the hard work and innovation that like runs our culture here. I do wish we worked a little less hard, obviously, but like I think the way Americans set their mind to things and do them is really, really awesome. I love that I can go to a Haitian coffee shop and then go and get like a Vietnamese lunch, and then I can go get like a Norwegian pastry. Like, I love that about America, and I love that we have such a mix of people, and I like truly believe that we could be the greatest country in the world because we have so much resource and so much potential access for people, but we don't let it go beyond the top 1%. And yeah, and people are gonna die. People are gonna die from this bill. People that I know are probably gonna die from this bill. And it's just really, really depressing. So I'm having a sad girl 4th of July, which I guess I've had a sad girl 4th of July for a very long time. I'm gonna eat my lunch, and then I'm gonna get back to sewing, and then I have a friend coming over. There's a cheerleader movie from 1999, I believe, that is a gay cheerleader movie, and I've never seen it, so they're gonna come over and we're gonna watch it together. Yeah, that's gonna be kind of my 4th of July, and then I have a kind of busy weekend ahead of me. Not a ton of probably resting planned this weekend, because I actually don't feel like my body needs it. I feel like my body needs motion and focus and things that help me regulate. Like, sewing is a very emotionally regulating experience for me, which I love. And then yeah, spending lots of time with friends and community, and that always also helps me feel a little bit less sad and depressy, because I am definitely a little bit depressy today. And I would like to not fall and like have it be a more permanent state of being. So that's the plan. I'm excited, even though the world is terrible. Teehee. And after I ate, I actually had fatigue hit me really hard. I did have some headaches Thursday, and I am still hovering around like a 2 to 3 in pain. And every once in a while, especially post those headaches, which I get headaches often on Thursdays, it takes energy out of me. So instead of continuing to sew, I listened to my body and I laid down and napped, and Spooky joined me. And Spooky is truly the sweetest, bestest cat ever. I just truly appreciate having her in my life because she brings so much joy, is just really great. And I feel like I always tell tell her that we're chronically ill girls together. In some ways, it helps me that I have a cat that also has chronic conditions that I have to manage because it helps me remember to manage my own chronic conditions. Just deep appreciation for Spooky. Also, the way we slept this time is so funny, with her paws just like pushing on my face as we both like nap. She's such a silly bean and I love her. And then after that, I started feeling a little bit better, so I got back to sewing. And I still had one more white shirt I needed to film. I mean, I still have a white shirt I need to finish, but I needed to film this guy. Lighting was good. I found a good location, so I went out and I filmed it. And then I did my nighttime routine. I decided to show you guys the products I use. I'm not really an influencer. I guess I'll put a Amazon list or something of the products that I use, but I use a pretty sensitive skin. I actually have cystic acne, which you probably wouldn't know because I use so many topical prescriptions to make it not a thing. But yeah, I have pretty sensitive skin. I use things pretty light or no scent, and mostly at the drugstore because I don't like spending a gajillion dollars for skincare. I think there's plenty of great options at the drugstore. So I start with, I think it's like a Bioderma cleanser for my eye makeup. And then once I get my eye makeup off, I have to do my eye makeup first. I don't know why. I will floss. I really like, it's called Cocoa Floss. It's like a influencer brand, but I find it works really well for me because I have large enough gaps in my teeth. I've heard it doesn't work if you have tight teeth. So I do have, I think it's a Quip toothbrush. I don't recommend these. I have a really hard time getting it to work consistently. Like something about the circuitry doesn't work great, which to me tells me that their quality assessments aren't great because this is a brand new one and I started having problems like a month in. So I don't really recommend them, and I basically just use it like a normal toothbrush now, and I use just the same toothpaste I used as a child, so nothing exciting there. And then for my face, I use CeraVe moisturizing cleanser. I generally have dry skin, although sometimes I get oily. I don't know, I have combo skin, but this works for me. And then I use my prescribed topical, and then I use this Vanicream moisturizer. I really like Vanicream actually. They're my preferred brand over CeraVe. It all just depends on what's on sale and what's in stock at the grocery store when I get for a refill. And as you can see, I am really fighting for the last drops of this guy. And this is the last time you'll see me working out, so I want to talk about my last mindset shift for working out. I started to also look at working out as an extension of my sewing and creative practice because I know that working out will allow me to sew later in life. Keeping up all these muscles and all of these things are going to be important for me to be able to create much later in life. And so I've really started to think about one of the reasons I work out is because I want to sew. And because I want to have, I talked about it earlier, but all that independence when I'm older, but most importantly, I want to be able to keep my creative activities. And weirdly enough, working out is actually a part of that, which again, feels kind of strange, but it's really helped me to just completely reframe the reasons why I work out, and having it as pain management, as rewarding my future self, and as my creative practice, as well as for my mental health, has really helped me. Again, I don't know that I would go as strong to say enjoy exercise, but be at peace with the fact that I do exercise and I do keep a routine regularly. So yeah, if you're struggling to exercise, I would just really ask, what is your mindset going into exercise? Because when my mindset was around punishing my body, I absolutely didn't do it as consistently as I do now. And I'm keeping the influencer vibes going and showing you what I do use in the morning. These actually are all from Sephora, which my moisturizer is pretty cheap at Sephora. I, again, don't like to spend a ton of money on this type of thing, but it works well for me. Before that, I put on my acne topical. I have a different one in the morning than I do at night. And then the last thing I put on is sunscreen. I really like Paula's Choice sunscreen. I have to be pretty particular with my sunscreens because they are likely to make me break out and get rashes. So this one works for me and does not give me a rash. So we love that. Generally, I need more of a physical sunscreen and less of a chemical to be able to do that. And then most of today was just a heads down sewing day that I really enjoyed. Super focused on this project. I took breaks to eat lunch, which was the thing that I had prepped the previous day, those shrimp tacos. Just had a pretty good time. It is the afternoon. I have been sewing literally all day, and I am probably about to go to my friend's birthday party, but I thought I would bother Spooky on camera. Hi, baby. Oh, it's so hard to be you. Not happy to be woken up from a nap. That's okay. I don't know. This has been a really, really, really busy week for me. I am not usually anywhere near this social. There's a chance I have social plans tomorrow too, which is wild. We're playing it by ear. Who's a cutie? I meal prepped, so like everything was like really easy for me today. I ate the same tacos I ate yesterday. Tide me over until I make it for barbecue. I am eating this weird yellow watermelon that I think I have decided I am against. I don't like the color is wrong. It is not for me. Oh, spooky. Realize it's sunshine time for her. But yeah, been like a nice, quiet, kind of slow day. I'm trying to not feel super anxious. I don't know anybody except for my friend whose birthday it is, so I'm trying not to feel super anxious about going, and I'm trying to not talk myself out of it. Things that could have potentially made it so I couldn't go, I did have to take some headache pills, my emergency migraine pills, at 3 a.m. yesterday. I don't know what triggered it. I don't always know what triggers it. I will say I don't think the fireworks helped. They kept interrupting my sleep. I'll say I'm all for fireworks. I am not all for fireworks, but I can accept fireworks on the 4th of July until about 1 a.m., but at 3 to like 4 a.m., whoever was setting them off, super obnoxious. Not a big fan. So yeah, I had to wake up. I had to take my emergency headache medicine, which meant I was a little slow getting out of bed this morning, which is fine because it's the weekend. Luckily enough, it doesn't really impact anything. It really feels like a Sunday since I had yesterday off too. I also feel like I'm a little anxious for the gathering tonight because I also feel like I'm getting like Sunday scaries, even though it is not Sunday. My body thinks it's Sunday, and I keep being like, no, I have a whole nother day. I don't know that I'll check back in today. Basically, my plan is right after I say goodbye to y'all, I am gonna actually do my hour of cleaning right now because I anticipate I'll be home kind of late from the party. Probably will be at my limit for things, so I likely will want to just roll into bed. We're gonna get all my cleaning done right now. A pretty frequent part of my routine is going to the farmer's market in the morning. The produce is definitely a little bit more expensive, but it's not egregiously so. Then I also always pick up flowers here from the same vendor. And then today I did decide I needed some caffeine, so I stopped at Valentina's, which is one of my favorite coffee shops in Seattle. All right, I am back from the farmer's market. I'm gonna do some flower arranging. This is my haul of other stuff. I got some Rainier cherries. It's cherry season, and I am a sucker for cherries. And then I also got, I think it's a type of apricot. It had a very specific name and I can't remember what it was, but I got these from one of my favorite orchards. I really love the farmers markets here because most of the booths are run by people who have immigrated here, and like it's multi-generational businesses, and if you like patron them enough, you get to see like their kids graduate from high school and then college, and it's just a really fun, I would say like our farmers markets are really fun communal experiences that are really enjoyable, which we're lucky for. Where I grew up, our farmers markets were more like a bunch of booths of MLM stuff, so I feel very, very fortunate to have access to like actual farmers markets because yeah, that is not something everybody gets to have. I really enjoy supporting these businesses and these families. This is working well. The beginning of building in this vase is always kind of complicated because this vase actually isn't great at holding flowers, ironically. But yeah, so I'm just stripping these down. I've done this before. I have a whole video where I go out to one of my favorite farms and do a you pick flower experience thing. But this is gonna be my final check-in. This is gonna be my sign off. I have a couple other thoughts for y'all. Last night was fun, so I went to that party where I didn't know anybody except for the birthday person, and I had fun. I met new people. I had a good time. It was great to finally meet his wife, who I've heard really great things about, and she is really great. So hopefully those will be new people in my life, in my community network. Rest of my plans today, hopefully I'll finish up the dress I've been working on this weekend, and then the white blouse that I've been working on for about a week. So that's my plan right now, is to get those two things all squared away. Because like I also potentially, I have a friend who's getting back to me on if she wants to come over today. I will note, this has been an abnormally social week for this. Don't think that this is how social I normally am. I had a bunch of things come up this week that I wanted to do. I don't know, I feel like 4th of July weekend is always really social time for me, which is funny because like none of my friends celebrate. But I think because of like the extra day off, everybody just has that extra bit of energy that allows you to do a little bit more socializing. Other thing that's like abnormal, I guess, is you didn't see me edit much this week, and that's because we are at the beginning of my month off. Typically, I'll actually edit 2 nights a week because I need to edit about 4 or 5 hours a week to keep my channel running. So that is something you didn't see. You did see me put a lot of filming in this week, so a lot of my time went to that instead. And so then future weeks, I'll spend a lot more time editing than I will filming. I think I'm gonna come out of this month with almost 2 months content banked because I'm just feeling so high energy and inspired tired right now. And for me, especially like having chronic health and conditions, when I'm feeling really great like this, I try to usually get as much done as possible so I can rest a ton when I don't feel as great, which is bound to happen because that's just kind of the roller coaster that is chronic illness. Yeah, those are kind of like my disclaimers of like how and also normally I have one more day in office and I didn't this week because my boss wanted me to focus on my stressful medical stuff. So I was going to talk a little bit about like community because sometimes I say I feel really lucky to have the community I have. And I've tried to stop saying that because not that I don't have privilege. I live in a big city in a blue state where a lot of people are fairly liberal, but also I work really hard to keep my community. So this week you saw my community show up for me a lot. You didn't see the ways that I show up for my community a lot. I do a lot of airport rides, a lot of dog watching, a lot of cat watching. I have people showing up for me so much because I also put in the work and I show up for other people. I hear a lot of people who are like, well, I don't have community. And I'm like, well, how are you showing up for other people? And they can't really answer that. And if you aren't showing up for other people and you aren't being, it's the whole everybody wants a village but no one wants to be a villager. So like I very much make sure that I show up and that I show up when I don't even want to show up. I think that's like a really key part of community building that not enough people talk about is you don't get to just show up when you want to show up. You need to show up consistently. And even like, especially for me having like chronic health issues, I do show up when I don't feel good. Of course, like if I'm capable and within reason, right? Like we're not talking about showing up if I'm like really, really in bad shape. But like if I can, generally my rule is if I can make myself show up for work, I can show up for community because my community is a higher priority to me than work. And so if I can make it work for work, I can make it work for my community. Do I enjoy like the last minute call because of like a panic attack or the last minute call because of like needing help with a doctor's appointment? As an autistic person, it's very derailing for my day to then show up in a like last minute way, but I do it because I care about my community and I prioritize them. You have to put in a lot of work for community. I've worked really, really hard on being a less selfish and self-centered person. I've worked really hard on learning to show up consistently, which has been something that was really challenging for me. I know at the end of the day, if I want to have a community that shows up for me, I need to show up for them equally. And I know it's hard because like sometimes you do get people who don't reciprocate. And then those are people that you can weed out if they aren't reciprocating showing up. And then also like consider like where they are in their life. Because we all have times that we can't be as someone who shows up for a community. I know I've had times like that. And so hopefully you've done the building during the times that you can show up for community to like kind of equalize. But yeah, community is not about you. And I feel like a lot of people center themselves when they talk about community. Community is community and it's not self-centered. And then a lot of you guys ask me about building community and like especially as like really anxious people. And like, I wish I had really good answers, but you just kind of got to like learn to take the risk and do the thing. I mean, it helps by like start with one-on-one stuff if that's what you're really good at, or start in bigger group stuff if that's what you're really good at. But you actually just like have to be okay being rejected. You have to practice being rejected and you have to like practice getting better at social interactions, like going, or not better, that's not what I mean, but like getting better at not being in your head about social interactions, right? Like for example, all of me screams that everybody that I met at that party last night hated me. I have no real logic for that. Anybody demonstrated tells me that they all hated me. It's truly up here. So one of my big mantras is nobody thinks about you as much as you think about you. And that actually a lot of times really helps me get out of my head when it comes to like social interaction is I'm like, nobody's thinking about that thing that I said because everybody thinks mostly about themselves. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I just mean that in like, most of the people who probably went at that party are also thinking about the one thing they said that they like, for some reason feel like we all think about ourselves and like most likely they aren't fixated on you. They're most likely fixated on themselves and their own interactions. And that's actually really helped me have less anxiety about those social things. And also, if they didn't like me, I won't be invited again. And those are people who are like not the right fit for me. You just have to kind of get comfortable with rejection and you have to get comfortable with putting yourself out there. I truly wish I had better answers for you, but like that's just what I've found is you just have to like kind of do the thing and practice the thing. And like socializing is a skill. And I don't mean that in like, we're all just who we are. But what I mean by socializing is a skill that like you have to basically like practice it. And like you can start with like Zoom calls and you can start with those really close family relationships. And then you can start by asking like, for example, this week, I asked a coworker who we've had a couple good conversation and I like her tattoos out for lunch. Found out we have a lot of really like a lot of stuff in common, and I think that will be someone I'll be adding to my community network, and she just moved here, so she needs a community network out here. Another example is I was eager to get in after the farmer's market and film this because I'm a very efficient person and I like to be very efficient about my time use. I saw a neighbor out who I've seen him a couple times, and I know he grows a lot of food in the neighborhood. And so he's always somebody who I have wanted to talk to because I can tell he cares a lot about gardening, and like the way I see him interact with people, I can tell he cares about the people in his neighborhood. So instead of coming and sitting down and filming, which is what I really wanted to do, I grabbed my keys and I went out front and I just started a conversation with him, and I can't tell you that I didn't have anxiety. Like, I felt very anxious about doing it. I had my heart rate rise. I actually had my heart rate rise before I went to the party. I had a stomach ache before I went to the party yesterday. I'm not saying like it's easy, I'm just saying that like I pushed through it, and like it was really rewarding. He now has invited me that anytime I see food on the property, I can harvest myself. He says it's just first come, first serve. So I plan on going out probably tomorrow and getting a good old pint of blueberries. We talked a bit about some of his gardening techniques, and he said this year's been really interesting because he had a apple grow on a tree that hasn't grown apples in about 10 years, which is something I've heard across the board. It seems like this year has been kind of a really good urban harvest season. And you can't get that type of intel from staying in your home. And yeah, we talked a bit. I showed him where I lived and I said, like, if you need anything, if you need somebody, I was gonna say like young and able, but I'm not particularly able, but I'm like, if you need something, ring. He offered the same thing. So now I have another person in my neighborhood who, if something happens, I can show up and he'll know who I am, and he has somebody vice versa. And like, I cannot emphasize the importance of that community building. And like, I can't emphasize also that like, people aren't perfect and you're not gonna find someone that like fits your strict, rigid rule set. I'm in community with a lot of people who, when you get into the detail of what we believe, we all probably disagree, but our hearts are all in the same place around wanting to have better community, wanting to care for the earth, and wanting to care for others. And that's like my really important roots. And then it's about like, how do you do that, right? I'll also feel like one of the big things that I see people get stuck on when they talk about looking for community is they're looking for 10 other people who think exactly the same as them. And that's just not how it works. And they're also looking for people who aren't gonna call them out. My community calls me out on my shit, and I call them out on their shit. You have to just kind of get comfortable with that if you're going to be in community. But yeah, it's work. And it's why I've really tried to stop saying that I'm lucky to have the community I have, because I put hours and hours and hours in every single week to have the community that I have. And I put myself in situations I'm not comfortable with within reason, right? Like, don't put yourself in danger. I think like at our core in modern whatever, we've lost kind of the line between what is dangerous and what is uncomfortable. And I think in general, some of it is because I think our nervous systems are messed up. I'm not gonna super get into why I think people can't discern. I try to like really discern like what is dangerous for me versus what is uncomfortable, and I try to generally lean in to being uncomfortable. And that said, I could not have gotten to the place I am today without going on medication, and I think that's really important to mention too, because like if you're super anxious, like there's a level of anxiety that you absolutely cannot push through and kind of like learn to manage. I certainly had that level of anxiety for a really long time. It's actually why one of my favorite acts of service to my community is airport rides, is because for years I couldn't drive further than like 5 or 6 blocks, or like really short trips, or if I drove longer trips, I would get super anxious and like worked up. And it's only through the healing of community that I've been able to do longer drives now and even get to the point that I enjoy driving, which is wild. So it's one of my favorite ways to serve my community, because I wouldn't have even the ability to do it if I didn't have the community I had. Which like, okay, so another way that I'm probably gonna go build community, I see 2 people moving in right now to the apartment across from me. So after I finish getting these flowers done and eat something, because I got sidetracked in trying to talk to people, so now I need to eat. But once I do that, I'm gonna go over there and I'm gonna ask them if they need help. Again, this kind of completely derails my day. It is not convenient for me, but it's important to me that whoever's moving in across from me knows that there's people in this community that like will show up. And yeah, and they might just say, no, thank you, and that's great. But yeah, I just like, I feel like we've just like lost that like community isn't perfect. And we've lost how much that we need to show up if we're gonna have community. That's just something that, yeah, I've been practicing really hard. And it's been really incredibly rewarding. It's been so scary, but so rewarding. And like, you have to just take risks in life. If you don't take risks, you get really stuck. So I'm right now in my life have just been really working on taking risks. Yeah, and doing things that, aren't necessarily comfortable or second nature. I'm an introvert. Like I said, I have some social anxiety stuff. Like I said, last night I had to talk myself off the ledge when I got home that everybody hated me. I don't not struggle with those things, but it's so worth it to push through those things. But with that, I am going to sign off from y'all. As you know, rest of today, either friends coming over, I'm gonna go see if those people want help moving. Hopefully I'll get some sewing done. And then the last thing is I also need to do a little bit of meal prep for the week. And thanks for coming along with me this week. In some ways it was very abnormal, but in some ways it was kind of normal. I don't know. But hopefully you enjoyed this. Hopefully, I don't know, you learned something or you feel encouraged, or this was just a good way for you to pass the time. All of that I'm happy with. I will see you here next week for another sewing video. And if you're new here, definitely subscribe, stick around. I am here almost every Friday. See you next time. Bye.